And welcome to another episode of the Who Dat Jedi podcast. This is episode 211. If you are keeping track, and that, yes, does not count the missing episode. Episode 211. My name's Aaron, and as always with me are the other members of the Who Dat Jedi Council, Dave and Fredo. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
And we're going to pretend that we're recording this on Sunday so that Monday Night Football never happened. At least it happens. It hasn't in this multiverse. So we don't know what happened on Monday. So we'll just kind of skip through that and pretend that we didn't know that our quarterback's going to be missing multiple games. And good Lord. Anyway, in the midst of Halloween season, are you guys feeling Dave, what are the kids dressing up as? Do we know yet?
Oh gosh, now again. So one of them's funny. Nate is dressing up as Pennywise.
Oh, don't bring him to our house. Britt will not be happy. It's clowns and clowns are her bugaboo, especially Pennywise. Anyway.
Yeah, we're trying to game plan how to get him a red balloon on the day of and all this, and
just get away from Transformers. Don't be Nate destroys power in Uptown for a day.
No Mylar balloons. Do not get him a Mylar balloon.
That's inside baseball joke for anyone not in New Orleans, I think.
I bet he can do the smile pretty well. Have you been teaching him?
Well, they all know that where you lower your head and you're like,
yeah.
They all can do that. No, they didn't need any special lessons on that.
Okay.
The Olivia is actually she can do the dance really, really well, and so she's trying to give Nate pointers on the dance.
And here's what I'm thinking. For years, I always had the joke that Scott, Aaron, and Britt and I should go as the cast of The Princess Bride. I go as Fezzik, Scott as Inigo, and so forth. But if you want to, you could always get Nate, Liv, and Harper to dress kind of like, because Olivia already has the blonde hair, getting blonde wigs. Go like maybe like the children from Children of the Corn, just get the really wide eyes, just stare at you. So they're still at that young age where they can kind of be scary, and adorable at the same time. So
So when I was
we can't get everyone on the same page. Every time we try to do a theme, it falls apart.
When I was teaching the school that I taught at, we had like the three main hallways were really long hallways, and there were two girls that were identical twins, and they even like dressed the exact same every day as well. And I so much wanted to just say, can you two dress as the little girls from The Shining? And then we'll stand you at the end of the hall, and I'll get the assistant principal to come around the corner while classes are going on, so there's nobody in the halls. I so bad wanted to do that. That would have been funny. That principal would have had the crap scared out of him. By the way, I know we have friends and family and listeners in Florida. Batten down the hatches and take care of yourself, and
be safe.
It looks like Milton is going to be a right pain in the sorry, you have to McClunky that one out, but that is not going to be cool. So if there's anything that we can do for you, give us a shout. Hopefully this podcast will give you a little bit of respite from whatever crap you're going to have to be dealing with after that. So that's a nasty storm. So, and those who have already gone through Helene as well. So anyway, with that, we've covered the natural disasters that are impending and the natural disaster that happened to the Saints. what 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 happiness do we have to go on? Let's do some trivia. Oh, by the way, before we do trivia though, I want to ask you guys. This is not a formal topic, but how far are we on Agatha? We don't have to go into an in-depth analysis, but how far are you on Agatha all
Caught
along?
up.
You're caught
I'm
up.
caught up.
To watch last week's episode. I didn't get caught up because of work, but yeah, I'll catch up by tomorrow.
So yeah, and we're really digging it. Really digging it, and I like how each. Th- Sorry, this is how the acolyte should have done it. You know, it's continuous. It's a continuous story, but each episode has a beginning and end, an arc of its own. You know, it's each episode is a challenge for one of the witches or whatever, and it's just so it's a well designed episodic show. I think if the acolyte would have been something along that line of you know a beginning, a middle, and end, and then the story continues the next week, I think it would have been a little bit more well received. I don't know. Do you guys like the format so far of what they're doing? Dave's nodding. He usually disagrees with me. So
I not usually. Sometimes the I disagree with you and making the point that I don't always disagree with you. Yeah, I like it. I like it a
Howard
lot.
Johnson is right about Lois Johnson being right. Anyway, go ahead.
Railroad.
The thing that like jumps out at me is the pacing is really strong, and how the um you can talk about a show like Obi-Wan in contrast as well. Like and not and I think Obi-Wan was a much more successful show
Yeah.
than Acolyte was, but um it felt like a movie. And it just felt like they sort of chopped it up and then they tried to like lengthen certain parts. And there was some filler in there. And this feels very much like it was designed specifically for television, and that's what I really appreciate about it. And I like just like what you said. It's episodic, but each individual episode has its own arc
Yeah, it's the
that
micro
sort
and the
of play.
macro. Yeah.
Yeah, and it plays into the larger arc. Yeah.
I will agree with everything David Lano Johnson just said. Uh, but also, maybe this is kind of an interesting point to consider. Just the idea of it's coming at the right moment in the year. The show about witchcraft and witches in October during Halloween season. And maybe that's something that Star Wars just doesn't get the chance to have. It doesn't have, I mean, yes, they have the holiday special, the Lego whatever special, but they don't really have that opportunity to tap into. I mean, they have Life Day, but we're not having Life Day specials.
All of that
Uh,
feels a little more forced in Star Wars.
exactly. Or where the advantage is you're not necessarily tied to stuff happening in the real world. The downside is you don't get that advantage that say Werewolf by Night and or even say something like Hawkeye, setting it during the Christmas season, gives it a certain lift and a certain little dynamic that's different. And kind of puts you in the mood to watch that sort of thing, or say the Guardians holiday special puts you in the mood to watch that sort of thing during the holidays because you know it's going to connect with your feelings for the season in the moment.
So we'll we'll do a more in depth thing probably when the series is over. That'll probably make sense just to talk about it. Like I said, we're really enjoying it. I think we're gonna have a lot of dumb comments from the internet to discuss because people are just being dumb who don't know much about
It's the internet.
witches. But anyway, um, yeah. The other thing I like about it is that the mystery of the teen being, and why his mouth gets obscured or whatever they call it, when he gets obscured when he tries to give any personal information. They don't belabor it, but there's just like it seems like in each episode or it just a little bit of a thing just to remind you that it's there.
Yeah.
And then they quickly move on. And that's kind of so the mystery of, that they did in the Acolyte, maybe that could have I don't know. I don't want to get into a Hatfield McCoy type of thing, but it is um, if they're going to do, and I think the Mandalorian does that well. I
Mhm.
think the Mandalorian does the micro and the macro well. And so I think they need to decide, is this actually, are we writing a movie or are we writing a TV series? And if it's going to be a movie, then yeah. Anyway, I digress. Well, thanks. Well, like I said, we'll talk more about that later. Tonight, we got some news to talk about, but then we're just going to share. It's going to be kind of a quick little show and tell, or share and tell, whatever, of our favorite or most meaningful Star Wars memorabilia, collectible, whatever. Just kind of a nice, fluffy episode. So, but with that, but I do have some breaking news. But I'll let Fredo do his news first, so you can all sit on the edge of your car seat.
We're going to do trivia.
Oh, crap, trivia. See, I'm so excited about my breaking news, and you guys probably already know it anyway. All right, Fredo, you first.
Go for it.
First, never mind. I just, oh heck, we've gotten political before. I'm sorry, I saw a great meme that said, yeah, I know that Darth Vader destroyed a planet and was an evil sadist, but I just don't know about that Luke Skywalker. It was a great political meme. I don't know enough of that Luke Skywalker. Anyway, all right. Speaking of, Fredo, who observes that Luke Skywalker has, quote, never expressed any unhappiness with his work? Who observes that Luke Skywalker has, quote, never expressed any unhappiness with his work?
Okay, the first time you said it, I wasn't sure. I think the second time you read it kind of gave it to me, which is that would be C-3PO.
Well, I didn't mean to. What, would I read it in the cadence of C-3PO? I was reading it
No,
in
no,
the
no, no, no,
cadence
no,
of
no. I
Bob
think the first time I was
Eubanks.
like, what are you talking about? And then the second time you read it, it kind of put me in the Return of the Jedi moment.
All right.
You had one. I had one a couple weeks ago where I think it was
That was
Boss
on purpose.
Nass, and you read it like the planet
Yeah,
core.
that
And
was
I'm like,
on purpose.
yes, I'm getting this.
All right. Okay, Dave.
Okay.
Kind of in that bailiwick there.
Uh-oh.
What object of Watto's does Qui-Gon manipulate using the Force? What
Okay,
object of Watto's does Qui-Gon manipulate using the Force?
Oh, it's a chance cube or a chance square? Chance cube?
It's a chance cube. Yes,
Yeah.
I have a couple back here. Yeah. They have them for sale at Galaxy's Edge, go figure.
They didn't when I went there.
Oh, too bad.
They were all sold out. I think everybody picked up mighty quick on those and the Coke bottles that look like thermal detonators as being the cheapest souvenirs you can pick up at Galaxy's Edge. And yeah, they're all gone.
You couldn't get a thermal detonator or Coke,
I
right?
mean, you can get
Oh, okay.
those because they replenish those, but I don't think they had the chance
Well,
cubes
that's what I liked
anymore.
about when I mean, that was, we're looking around. I was like, oh, cool, I didn't know they had them. But it's one of those things where it's not Star Wars adjacent. It's actually something from Star Wars. So I was like, well, that's kind of cool to get. And it was cheap. So,
Right,
all right, for
easy
me.
to bring back.
Yeah. For me, who explains to Luke that the dark side is not stronger than the Force? This is a horribly written question. Who explains to Luke that the dark side is not stronger than the Force, but is, quote, quicker, easier, and more seductive? All right, Trivial Pursuit, we have to talk about something here.
Mhm.
There is a dark side and a light side to the Force. The dark side is still part of the Force. So what Yoda was speaking of is that the dark side is not stronger than the light. And actually, Luke actually says that in his response to him. So this is a horribly written question. This is like if I'm at bar trivia, I get mad. Okay. So
Is there an upside and a downside to
yeah,
every Schwartz
it's got
though?
an upside and a downside.
Yeah.
So I already answered that it is Yoda, but that is an awfully written question.
Yeah, that could have been written better.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go on to the news. Fredo, did it?
All right, let's do a couple of quick bits of news. First one's going to be kind of a fun one. Talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. LA Comic Con was this past week. Weekend, I'm sorry. And of course, obviously, they had a Star Wars panel, and Ewan McGregor was in there. And so they got to the idea of talking about coming back to Star Wars, obviously as Obi-Wan Kenobi. So he says, quote, that they're exploring ideas for Obi-Wan Kenobi season two.
Hello there.
And he gave some, I mean, obviously nothing's been confirmed, nothing's finalized, but it says we're exploring some of the ideas. He would want to wear the Clone Wars armor, so he would love to. Basically, he wants to do flashbacks to the Clone Wars with him and Hayden Christensen. And of course, you say that, and the crowd went wild because getting Obi Wan, Clone Wars era Obi Wan, and Hayden looking like they did. I mean, you remember when it was at Ahsoka's that episode where you saw Hayden in the Clone Wars armor, and people were geeking out about that. So the idea of getting more of that would ostensibly
But
maybe deal with that.
boys
But
and
obviously,
girls, before you start getting all excited, remember how mad you get when they de-age your favorite character. So
because that
just
is
if
25 years of age that they got to
if
strip off of him.
it doesn't bother me. I was fine with Samuel L. Jackson and Captain Marvel. That was all. I'm fine with that. I moved on, But there are people who like absolutely lose their minds when they do the de aging stuff. So if you're like excited for this, then that means you can't complain when they de age because otherwise you're not going to get. Yeah, but how old is Ewan McGregor? It's 50 something,
It's
right?
he's in his 50s.
So
I mean, he's old enough to be having teenager and young adult daughters.
so
He is a brighter age of 53. Now, I mean, yeah, there's ways to kind of uh, flirt around against shooting, whatever. Uh, It's interesting. Okay, y'all talk while I look something up.
Okay. Well,
Dave,
I don't.
did you have a good Tuesday, Dave? we weren't given
No,
a
no,
topic.
because
Um, I guess
okay, because no, because the reason what I wanted to look up is how old was Sir Alec Guinness when he did Ben Kenobi in A New Hope, and the age is 62. So Ewan is only 9 years away from hitting that point in life. Now, obviously, we're talking nearly 50 years, apart. Modern medicine,
I know
healthy
60 is the
living.
new
I
40.
don't, I don't,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think Ewan's gonna look 62 the way that Sir Alec Guinness looked 62. Let's just be fair there. That being said, he is getting closer to that point in his life than he is to the point where he was in 2002
Now,
when he was playing General Kenobi.
Mark Hamill looked every bit of 62 in The Last Jedi or Force
Mhm.
Awakens, whatever. He was the same age as Alec Guinness. Um, but anyway, no, I don't want to get into this ageist thing here. I'm just saying, I just when you say that and everybody goes, yes, that would be so awesome. That's again, I want to step on stage and tell everybody, it's okay. You're all going to sign a waiver on your way out the door, and we'll give you a little poster that you can't complain about the de aging that's going to have to be done if we do this. So it's just, but it's the
Yeah,
internet. I know that's not my first day on the internet. I get it. Um, so I guess, I don't know.
I would put up with it, right? Like, I mean, I know that we all kind of fall in the same boat, which is that like it's not that big a deal for us. We'll sit here and we'll sort of talk about it after the fact if it's not executed well,
Right,
but
right.
that's the whole point of us doing this. But at the same time, we're going to be pretty forgiving, I think.
So, but here's my thing. All right. So
Yeah.
if there was an Obi-Wan season two, uh, do you want it to be Clone Wars flashbacks? I mean, it's not like we haven't covered about every inch of the Clone Wars. You know what I mean? It's like I guess I would like to think that at that point Anakin is dead to him. And so I would rather Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. But even that, so I don't know. I still don't know if I mean, again, any Star Wars is good Star Wars, and if I get to see Ewan McGregor again, awesome. But I just don't know if there is a second season in them, and if it's going to be a lot of flashbacks, then I guess to what end? Is it just so that you can see your favorite cartoon in, you know, uh,
Live action.
in live action? And not to be hyper cynical there, but I mean, I mean, what I guess I liked what they did in the first well in the first season of Obi-Wan, where it was a meaningful interaction between Hayden and Obi-Wan, a teaching. There it was, you know, this just a little vignette of it built their some holes in the relationship. I don't know what. And
Uh,
to have Anakin and Ahsoka doing a flashback like they did, that made sense as well because it wasn't about. So I don't know what they would do. So
I was thinking about it, and I thought if they were going to do a second season of Obi-Wan, I wouldn't bring Darth Vader in at all. I think you leave that story the way it got left in at the end of Obi-Wan season one. I would be more interested in finding out the kind of the idea. The only idea I kind of could think of was, what if Obi-Wan runs into somebody like Balin Skoll, another I know, a Jedi who's fallen, not necessarily a Sith, not necessarily somebody, but somebody who's looking to, who's using his powers, whatever, and he has to, maybe running a crime syndicate, doing whatever, I don't know, some kind of thing like that, and that's what it brings him from the desert to have to go deal with that kind of problem. I would be more interested in seeing how Obi-Wan deals with the collapse and the fall of the Jedi Order and what they became, so kind of get to the point where he finally come to understand why he thinks that in truth the only Jedi left are me, Yoda on Dagobah, and Luke. Hopefully, Luke and Leia one day. Hopefully, because that's the position that we get to in A New Hope. By the time he's telling the story to Luke, he thinks the Jedi Order does not exist anymore, and we know that by the end of Episode 3, he's telling the other Jedi, "Go away, run away." So he knows that there's more Jedi Knights and Padawans out there, but what made him think, nope, that order's just done. If Luke can't do it, maybe Leia, and that's it. That's the bulk of
well, I guess like I said, one of the
it.
best things was that there was never a Casablanca 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just so Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are going off to do their force training. You know what's going on. You
It was
know,
a good ending.
it's a
It
good
was a
ending.
very good.
You
It's a
know,
very good ending.
it's like, so I don't know. We don't have to belabor it, but it's just so that's great. And Ewan McGregor knows how to work a crowd, and he knows how to. He's
Yeah.
drumming up some business. I get it. Um, I just
And in this slight defense, I also got to be fair. We did mention his age. He is 53. There is a point where he's going to be, even though he loves the character, loves the universe, loves whatever, he's not going to want to do that. Like, he's going to get to the elegance point of, do I really want to put myself through the 6 to 9 months of intense combat training, lightsaber duel training, stunt work, etc., to do this again? Because that's what's expected. He's gonna be like, no. Maybe he's thinking, I maybe have one more chance in the next 5 years to do this, and then I'm kind of done with it. So maybe he's trying to force the issue by making it happen now, as opposed to later.
he said the word. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't know. If
Mm-hmm.
those listening out there, if you have an awesome idea for an Obi-Wan season 2 plot line, prove me wrong. So otherwise, what's next?
Just right quick, we didn't want to let it pass. October 3rd, 2014, one of our favorite Star Wars series of all time debuted on, I believe it was Disney, the Disney Channel. That was Star Wars Rebels. So celebrating 10 years, which is amazing to think that it's only been 10 years because it feels so ubiquitous, so such a presence, particularly in the fandom. Like there isn't anybody at this point who doesn't know Ezra, Copper, Kanan, Sabine, and Hera, and Seb. You know, they know the crew of the Ghost. There's a whole generation for whom that's their Star Wars, and it's. I just kind of figure, do you remember the name of the first episode?
Um, I don't. I dead air. I don't have it.
I get it.
It's Spark of
Spark
Rebellion.
of the Rebellion. Um, so in my best friend, like through one of my best friends through high school. we met in elementary school, and when we met, we got into a fight at recess, playing football, and he blocked me weird. I pushed him, he pushed me. We got in trouble, and then we became best friends. That's the way I feel about Rebels. Is that I remember when I first started watching Rebels, I was kind of like, because it looked very Davy and Goliath like, but it just got better with each episode and with each season. It was so, like we've said it again many times. If you haven't watched Rebels, you know, don't judge it by the first couple of episodes. You know, get into it, and it just gets better. They do a great job of setting you up and hooking you in. So I don't know. Like I don't know if you guys had a different reaction at the outset, but it was kind of like, but I gave it a chance, and then it was like, this is awesome. I remember I hated Chopper at the beginning, and now he is like one of the best characters ever written in Star Wars. Love it. So yeah. Anyway,
So many great characters. I mean, and I think like that's isn't that sort of like where you start? You're just like, can you put together a group of individuals that are so fascinating to viewers that they're going to want to come back week after week and just see those extended family members essentially. Um, and I think like that's where that series really just sort of nails it. We talked about like the mini arcs that lead to the larger arcs, and doing good television. Those things are important. Um, but like it's really that you know, for lack of a better term, that family feeling of these characters. Um, and they're also fully realized too. Like, it's one thing to say, oh, I appreciate that, I can relate to so and so, but, so and so is not for me. But like, you can kind of relate to everyone here because you understand them. You understand where they're coming from and why they do the things that they do, and they're consistent in how they would behave in a given scenario. And I think like that's when you nail characters that your audience comes to know these characters that you've created, and when you get it right, your audience is along for the ride, and they're like, yes, they respond to that because they know. And you just know when you watch these characters react to the situations that they get into, that their reactions are genuine, they're real, they feel authentic. And yeah, I couldn't gush any more over this series. It's one of my absolute favorites.
Yeah, I think what I love them. I mean, I remember when the shows was first coming out on Disney Channel, and that kind of was like, okay, clearly looks like the next kids show that's set in Star Wars, and kind of dismiss it on that. And it took me a while to kind of get back to it and kind of actually give it a sense. And you're right, Aaron. If there's any kind of warning to give more adult viewers, is that you're gonna have to stick through natural progression of the story at the start, where it's very much a problem of the week, very much kid oriented, very much okay. Like they go into the Melu run and then they
very
run into
Disney, very
stormtroopers. Yeah,
Disney.
very exactly, and very Disney Channel at that. Not
Yeah,
not even like Disney movie theater where there's some actual scares. No, that this is Disney Channel Disney. But as it went along, I think that shows not only the quality of the show, but the talent of the writing of Dave Filoni and his writing team is that they were able to delve into some of the depths of these characters and the story and the setting and kind of craft something that's a bit deeper and more meaningful. The idea of, parental loss, of the losses that Kanan has gone through, of what Hera has gone through, what Sabine has gone through. All these are characters who have been seriously harmed by the rise of the Empire, what it's done to them on an individual or family basis, or even on a species or planetary basis. And that a lot of times what's bringing them together, what's making them family is this kind of the strong bond that they have to rebel. And that's what's hence, rebels. Uh, but that it's very much done in a way that by the time you're to season six, two and a half, like halfway through season two, you're just, particularly like now that it's all on Disney Plus, you're just binging that sucker. You're just going one episode to the next because you love their story, you love the characters, you want to see where the story goes, and they know how to. They never give you a show. They don't give you a show where things kind of go easy because
Yeah.
there's stakes in this. There's moments where they lose. There's moments where they lose really hard.
It's also
There's
like
mistakes.
just shy of 20 minutes for each episode because there's no commercials. So yeah, you can get through them pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah, there's never a situation where, oh my God, no, this is a kid show, so we'll make it safe. Like, no, particularly towards the end, they are playing without a safety net, and that's really commendable for the team that put it together. And just as an added bonus, the voice acting by the entire cast, you can see they love. I mean, you see it every time you see them in conventions and Star Wars Celebration, whatever. That cast loves those characters. They love each and every one of those characters, and that comes through. Whether it's and it's even come through when some of them have become the live action versions of those characters. But it's really it's it's made me hopeful that they can keep that level of writing and acting and everything going forward.
Reverend. All right. My breaking news.
Yeah. Now we go for breaking news. We go to what East Bank Representative Aaron.
Special correspondent from Gentilly.
That's right.
Yeah, this is
That's
Aaron
right.
Swoboda reporting in Gentilly. No, and maybe you guys have heard of this, but Fan Expo New Orleans, which is January 10th through the 12th. They've been starting to announce celebrity guests, and the big crew that is coming. This is not Star Wars, sorry folks, but it is the stars from Back to the Future. Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, and Tom Wilson will all be at Fan Expo New Orleans. That almost, I mean, that's not Star. That makes me kind of want to go. I don't know if I'd get any autographs, but just to go, they're going to have a panel or something. That'd be kind of cool to go see.
If there was one thing I would do, I would buy the Lego Back to the Future DeLorean, put it together, and ask the cast to sign it.
We'll get
That would be
moving.
cool.
You got until January 10th. Um,
Mhm.
but
Got a few months.
also, the cast from Smallville is also going to be there. But when I saw the Back to the Future one, I was like, that's really cool. And 40th anniversary of Back to the Future this year, so or this coming year. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
When
know.
we when we crossed the Rubicon of the future from Back to the Future 2, and we didn't have flying cars,
You
such a
real
disappointment.
you realize I've seen the meme also. It's like if Marty was to go back today, he'd be going back to 1994. Would have been a junior in college.
It further proof that time moves forward and we don't stay young forever. But it's it's amazing. I mean, just when you think about it, their the love and the commitment that Robert Zemeckis, I forgot the name of the writer, but the whole team that put Back to the Future together, that they've held on to that property and not allowed anybody to remake it. That there's never going to be a remake, a sequel, an update. They're like, we crafted the perfect trilogy. We are done. Nobody will touch this.
You know, and that's one. I mean, I like that trilogy. I think they could have that's another one. They could have just ended the first one, and I would have been fine with it. They had every, I was watching a thing the other day. They had every intention to do a sequel um, right off the bat. But anyway, but that first one, Dave, you said yeah. When we passed the Rubicon, we didn't have flying cars. The first one, however, really holds up. It is
Yeah.
still one because I mean, especially 51-year-old Aaron. First of all, now when I watch that, I'm taken back to 1985. When I was, in
Yeah.
like late elementary, early middle school. Um, actually early middle school. I think I was in seventh grade. So I'm kind of thinking there. Um, and then, of course, then you're not. you know, hey, we're in 2015 and there are no flying cars. I'm not making fun of you, but there is that element now, and it's like we're in 2015. This looks nothing like 2015. We were just there, and it's no, um,
Or
but
10 years passed.
it does look like 1955. You know what I mean? By everybody's account. So that whole, but so like I said, for 51-year-old Aaron, it still holds up. I don't know if kids get a kick out of it at all, but man, I sure do. So
My kids like it. They watch those movies and they really like those. And the other ones they really like are the Bill and Ted movies, which those hold up too.
but
Um,
think about the things, however, because every now and again I see, I can't remember what it was that Britt and I were talking about the other day, and I said, well, there's something that the kids will never understand because it's just part of their everyday. But there's scenes in Back to the Future where the alarm on his watch goes off and it almost gives him away, or what's a
Go to the
tab?
payphone.
A payphone.
Yeah.
What's a tab? As far as the drink is concerned, or even for that matter, Pepsi Free. I think Tab lasted longer than Pepsi Free did. So there's a lot of gags in there that just wouldn't necessarily hold up either. But for us, it does. Yeah.
I know you talked about sort of the future of these movies sort of being assured in a way because I have read interviews that Bob Zemeckis gave that they did have it written into the original deal that that he owns the property and they cannot make movies without his consent.
And he said
And
he's taking those to his grave, so he
Yeah.
knows what he's doing.
absolutely.
So,
Because like again, like if they remade that, like it wouldn't be the same.
but yeah, no, I said I saw that about Fan Expo New Orleans, and I was like, well, that's pretty cool. So, especially that, Michael J. Fox with dealing with Parkinson's. I mean, that's kind of amazing that we're getting a public appearance with him. So, yeah. So anyway, January 10th through the 12th. I think, like I said, I know that the cast of Smallville. I mean, that didn't get me as hurrah. But that's nothing against Smallville. I just never watched it. I'm just double checking to see if there are an evening with the cast of Back to the Future. That's going to be on Friday the 10th at 7 p.m. So go to the website. You can just search for Fan Expo New Orleans, and I'm sure
Yep,
there'll
I'm in
be.
there now, and I'm looking at it. And by the way, you know that idea that I just had about the autograph, the Lego DeLorean?
How much is an
Yeah, it.
autograph?
Well, depending on I'm guessing it's gonna be going in the premium bulky dynamic, but just the set itself alone costs me something like $160. So when it's on sale. So
Oh, you're talking about the
uh
Lego set itself. I thought you were talking
oh, no
about.
no 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 no. But that's the thing. It's like in total, it's gonna cost you about $1,000. Mostly because Michael J. Fox's signature autograph is the most expensive there. But yeah,
Yeah, I know that Chubbs was signing your stuff for $300. So
it's higher.
yeah. So anyway, um, but oh well, you can still maybe go and see the panel. It'd be fun. All right.
That'd be fun.
So cool. Star Wars memorabilia. Star Wars memorabilia. Obviously, we've talked about some of this stuff a little bit before. Um, my collecting, quote unquote, started in 1996. I mean, when I was a kid, we had the Star Wars toys. We had Star Wars stuff, but it wasn't collecting.
It was
Um,
toys.
and it was 1996. I remember because uh, it was the year that Hasbro released, the new Power of the Force line. And for Christmas, the guy he's been my best friend since preschool. Didn't get into a fight with him. He gave me like the original like lineup of, I think I got Vader, Han, and Luke, and maybe Leia or something. But he gave me like 4 or 5 of them for Christmas. And so, and it was right as it was interesting because I started collecting because I mean it was there was a lot of anxiety at that point because I just graduated college, just got married, and moved away. We moved away from home. You know, we're living in small town Nebraska, and you know, going to Target and finding the new Star Wars figure kind of eased some of that anxiety. And so you can see how this all this stuff behind me was um, instead of therapy, that's what I did. But so I did, I was, like I said, collecting a lot of the toys. Now I haven't bought really any of the toys for a long time, and I've shifted to other things. And so, and I was trying to think about this. I've talked about how much I was excited to get the, Doc Ondor's, the Disney Skywalker Legacy lightsaber. But I still think my favorite, the most meaningful one to me are my autographs that I have from the different conventions and fan expos and stuff like that. But the one that I think is really that I just stop and look at almost daily is the Chewbacca, the painting of Chewbacca holding a Guinness pint, and it's autographed by both Peter Mayhew and Jonas Swatamo. Um, Had him autograph it on the same day at Star Wars Celebration Chicago, and like I said, it was about a week or two before Peter Mayhew died. Um, and it was really cool because my interaction with Peter Mayhew was, well, first of all, it was cool because Jonas said, "Oh, Peter's gonna love this. He loves Guinness," and that was awesome. And then when I went to have Peter sign it, I was actually able, most times when you go get stuff signed, you try to figure out some sort of small talk so you can, but it's tough. It's like, hey, how do you like the weather in Chicago type of a thing? Or, boy, your first time in New Orleans, that type of deal. But with Peter Mayhew, I was actually able to, I was like, we have a mutual friend. I said, and I mentioned the guy who I'm in the 501st with, who was friends with Peter Mayhew and his wife, and hold the he got to hold the Peter's A New Hope script and stuff like that. But anyway, I said, I'm friends with, and I named the guy, and he just sat back and said, "Yes, we do." And it was like this personal moment for a minute. So that stuff has become more meaningful to me, those interactions, and like I said, the autographs. So I think that's going to be my most meaningful Star Wars memorabilia. So
I love that. Now, I just kind of thought it'd be fun to sort of get your take on this in particular.
well,
No offense, Fredo, or
if I can say
no offense to me either, but
a close second is the picture, and I've talked about this before. It's the picture of Admiral Ozzel and Admiral Piet at a convention in Omaha, and I had each of them sign it. We had the picture taken in Omaha at this meet and greet, and then I had each of them sign it at one of the Star Wars celebrations, and uh, Ken Connolly, I think, yeah, Admiral Piet, he sat there and just looked at that picture for what seemed like 5 minutes, just silently, just looked at it, and so it was kind of cool. That interaction, like I said, was really cool. So anyway, sorry, Dave.
no, I was. This is why I would. This is why I suggested the topic. I thought it would be something that we could just sort of like reminisce for a bit and um, have good vibes. So there's definitely good vibes there. Again, I haven't been a collector, and I think we talked about this during our collection show um, for a lot of reasons. But um, I think like there's a few things that jump out for me like right away, right? and I do this kind of in reverse chronological order, which is I'll do the most recent stuff, like the lightsaber from Disney World. Um, I've been so much, and again, it's kind of what related to what you were talking about. It's tied into the experience, and just this you're in the lightsaber room and you're building your own lightsaber and they're playing Yoda's theme and um, it's just magical. And then you have this incredible souvenir after the fact. And like we've talked about, it's a sturdy thing. It's solidly built, it's durable, and really cool. Just really, really cool. I fully endorse anyone that's listening to this that's never been, yeah, spring for it, spend the $200 or whatever.
It's
Um,
expensive, but it is absolutely worth it because it's like it's not rushed. It's not it the show is worth the meal. If you know what I mean. It's like
mhm.
usually if you go to dinner theater, you get a crappy meal with a kind of a lukewarm show, but here it's the meal and the show are just awesome.
Yeah, come away happy. You feel like you've experienced something special,
Well, and
and then
even
you have
if
this really, really cool souvenir.
even that we can do that, we could do the math because you have it's like different pieces that you can choose from. So anywhere in the world, there's a gazillion people who have a lightsaber that's exactly like mine. I mean, the odds are just there.
Mhm.
But the fact that you and Nate got to make those choices, it wasn't like $240, please. Here's your lightsaber. It was like, I want that. I like that piece, but I like that one. You have to go through the Sophie's choice of what it is that you have to make, and in the show they play that up. It's like, don't take these decisions lightly. What is your heart telling you? Those types of things. They're really not just like, will you hurry up and just pick a damn piece, please? It's they're kind of milking that. Um, so like I said, but the fact that you have to make those choices and then you have to live with those choices, right? I mean, but still, it's kind of it. That's what's cool about it.
There's a lesson in there, yeah. That yeah, and you get to pick the kyber crystal too. And
Yeah.
I remember telling you guys that. Tying in with another memory for me was that when I was a kid, we had the plastic lightsabers, and I would go to Walmart and would see, a rack of plastic lightsabers that somebody could buy. I didn't have any money. I was a little kid, and I'd see those green Luke lightsabers. I never got one. I had a Vader one, which was cool, um, but I never got a Luke one. And so, like, there's something about the green that just was like, you know, forbidden fruit, And so, like, when I was there at Disney World, I'm like, I'm getting green. We're getting green. We're doing it. And and so that was just such a special memory. And like you said, doing it with my son, and um, I also wanted to like bring up like again like there was a long period of time where I just didn't collect, tried not to. Had a few things here and there, usually as gifts. Like somebody would give me something, and I'd be like, "Oh, thank you, that's very kind," but um, I wasn't actively participating. And I'm thinking like the biggest exception that I can think of, and again, this is not unique to Star Wars necessarily, because for a while there I was collecting a lot of these, but the DVDs. And when the original trilogy came out on DVD in 2004, 20 years ago. Look at this, 20 years ago. Um, gosh, that was just like magical.
What's a
I mean,
DVD?
well, kids, before those movies came out on that format, let me tell you, you had one choice. It was VHS. It was pretty much VHS. You, we tried. A lot of us tried to go to the theaters for the special editions. Um, But
By the way, as a tangent, I just remembered what it was Britt and I were talking about. Caller ID.
oh, there you go.
Caller ID is a technology that the kids would never understand because it's, and how baller it was to have, because now it's just it's just on your phone automatically. Anyway, sorry.
Oh yeah, you could be like, I got caller ID. I know who you are.
Right.
Um, yeah, no, but those DVDs were I don't know the promise of that, like getting to watch this in fairly high fidelity,
Well, but
these movies.
here's the thing. Here's where they
I mean,
got you. Because then it was like a then the special editions, came out. So I
mhm.
got to get those. And then it was like another edition with a different documentary, and so you got to you know that was the same thing with the toys and the action figures and stuff like that. It was like you started chasing the variant, that like the lightsaber was longer than normal, blah blah blah. It's like they they really suckered you into some of those. It's like they knew what they were doing, but then the market got so saturated, and but you made a when you said something, it was funny because yes, I collect Star Wars stuff, and always it was very sweet. My students would, oh, if they got anything Star
Yeah.
Wars, they would, like, Mr. Swoboda, here we go. You got just the Star Wars. We went to McDonald's, and it's like, hey, thanks.
Yeah,
It's not,
exactly.
it's not like I want everything Star, but it was sweet that they thought of me and stuff like that. So it was right before I know I've told this story before. It was right before we moved down here, and of course, thinking about all the crap you got to pack up and everything like that. And one of my drum students, one of my private drum students, she's like, "Hey, we were cleaning out." Well, a couple weeks earlier, she's like, "Hey, we're cleaning out Grandma's attic, and we found a Star Wars poster from 1983. Do you want it?" I'm just like, "No, no," because what I'm thinking is like somebody went to Sam Goody, and found a Return of the Jedi
Yeah,
poster. It's like $3, whatever. I was like, "No, thank you. I appreciate the thought, but it's like Well. So anyway, I think it was our last lesson, and I'm going down the stairs to where we taught lessons, and I see her sitting there waiting for me, and there's this big frame sitting next to her. I'm just like going, God, ugh. Thinking about, like I said, I'm packing up my house and stuff like that. In my head, I'm just like going, come on, I told you I don't want this. And she's like, here this is the poster we're talking about, and it is an original one sheet that hung in the theater from 1983, and my jaw dropped, and I'm just like, if I ever choose to sell this, I will split the money with you because I know how much this thing is worth. And it was like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, this isn't, oh, we found a poster, and her family ran the theater in the town, and so they would keep the posters. And so like I said, it's one of the original one sheets from Return of the Jedi. Not Revenge of the Jedi, but Return of the Jedi. So
that's so cool, man. Like, like you said, it's just downplaying it. Like, oh, we just found this poster, and it's like your family owns the movie theater, and it's been sitting in the back of the movie theater for 20 years. It's like, come on. Um, yeah, no, that's a great story. Um, I think back to the figures back in the day, and the toys, and um, the Hoth Ice um, Imperial Assault set was, oh yeah, there you go, Hoth. Um, that was one of my all-time favorites when I was a kid. That I don't I don't have any memory of asking for that, but I sure have tons of memories of playing with that. And my parents knocked it out of the park with that one. Because it was sort of action oriented, and you could do things to the set to sort of like create an avalanche, or like set a booby trap for the the characters and things like that. And it was just like really neat. It was really, really cool, and I got so much mileage out of that. And the other thing that I can remember, and this is kind of a slight tangent too, but my mom took us, my sister and me, to Sears, and she ran in and she got the stuff that she needed to get at the Sears, and then she's like, I gotta take this, I gotta do this other stop. I think the laundromat, right? And to get the dry cleaning or something like that. So she does this other stop. She leaves me and my sister in the car. That's what you do back then. You leave your kids in the car. It's 100 degrees. Who cares? Um, so like we're in this car, and I'm like, I wonder what she got at that Sears. And like I go and I start nosing around, and there's a Darth Vader figure and an Imperial officer figure, and my sister ratted me out so fast that I went and sneaking a look at that, and um, so like my sister, as a result of that, she got the Darth Vader figure.
You know,
I got the random Imperial guy.
isn't it so funny? Because I'm sorry, we're gonna let Fredo talk at some point, but it's so funny. I was actually when you start talking about Sears, automatically I start getting excited just because. Do you remember this time of year when the Sears holiday catalog would come out?
Yeah, they still do that. Not Sears. I don't know if Sears does it anymore. I don't even know if Sears exists, but Amazon does it. I think a couple of other places
Yeah,
still
but
put out.
still, it's like
Yeah,
you didn't have the internet. This was like the one time where you got to see what all the stuff
yeah.
was, and you're like, "Oh my god, I want that!" You're circling crap, and you're just, yeah, and it was all the Star Wars stuff. Anyway, um, man, all right, all the feels. Fredo,
I have. Yeah, I've hogged the mic long enough.
No, it's all right. It's all right. And it's always interesting because, yeah, I'm going to agree with you. The lightsaber from Savvy's workshop is probably my favorite kind of bit of Star Wars thing I own now because, yes, there's a connection to the process, to the experience, to even the bringing it back, like the hauling it back from California, a little back to New Orleans. It's a thing. And I do have a couple of like other Star Wars related stuff around, uh, poster from like before, not the movie poster, nothing like what Aaron got. Nothing is going to be worth thousands of dollars if you ever decided to put it up on the auction market. I'm just thinking back. I mean, that's kind of the thing. Star Wars has always been ubiquitous in my life. I mean, it's about 3 months younger than I am. We both came out in '77, so there hasn't been a period in my life, I think, where I haven't been aware of it. I remember playing with the toys and wearing the T-shirts and swinging the lightsaber, the little plastic ones, and it's amazing how much stuff back from back then. You think again, like you were saying there, these are toys. You don't think of them as collectibles. You don't think of it as memorabilia, and it's part something that was part of your life that you added on. Whether it was a Darth Vader mask that changed voice because it was like the coolest thing ever, or it was a Han Solo costume or a Chewbacca mask. It was something that was just ubiquitous throughout your life, and it's always funny that as you age, kind of go away from it, and then you come back to it, and then you go away from it, and you come back to it, and at this point it's just like, okay, yeah, I got stuff all over my place. I find out one thing I do love is occasionally, like, I love finding like little independent artists who make like Star Wars themed stuff that's not necessarily like Disney approved, but like that print of the Chewie holding the Guinness.
hmm
That's awesome. Or I found this one artist in the UK who made me live throughout this one print of like quotes from the movies with the characters. So I got the one from Han that says "Never tell me the odds," and I have it framed and I got it hung up somewhere. It's like, yeah, because in some ways it becomes part of your everyday, it becomes part of your life, and you just start thinking, well, let it be that. I mean, I laughed at, as I said, as I'm staring at a little Lego Darth Vader and Obi Wan Kenobi that my sister in law gave me a long time ago, and I just got them up there, and it's like, yeah, they're part of life, and you kind of go with it, and you hope that if you're lucky enough to meet some of the cast, some of the crew, some of the people making it, you get those as memories as well.
So, by the way, Regal Robot just announced the Gamorrean Guard axe replica. You guys are gonna have to take a look at that. It looks really cool. Uh, but um, no, it's kind of like what we talked about with Disney World. That we a couple weeks ago we said Disney World is a chance for yes it's both for kids and adults because the adults get to escape the the McClunky that we deal with on a daily basis, whether it's work or life insurance or health or blah 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 blah. It's like for this amount of time, I am you know a kid again, and that's what the collecting for me was. It's like for a minute I can forget that I'm an adult. And maybe somebody would say there's something wrong about that. I don't know, but you know it. But like I said, the autographs and stuff like that, um, I've enjoyed that. And yeah, you might spend. It all depends on who is signing it on. Who how much chunk of change you're gonna put down. But I would probably save up my pennies if I could and wait in line if I could get 10 seconds with Mark Hamill to say hello and to have him sign a Luke Skywalker figure that would say to Aaron. I'm never going to buy something that is autographed because it
Right, just
wasn't
the autograph.
autographed for me. All the things on here say, to Aaron, and that's so, like I said, that's money well spent. It's either you're going to spend the money on that or you're going to spend it on something else. Here you still get it just gets something more meaningful. So anyway, that's why I've really liked
Yeah,
the
well,
autographs.
it's a lot like you were saying about the Savvy's Workshop lightsaber versus the Doc Ondar lightsaber. At the end of the day, you're ending up with a similar idea of a product, but it's the difference between buying the autograph and the story that goes with obtaining that autograph from that actor, that creator, that writer, that director, whoever it is that you share that moment, that you have that one particular moment when, hey, you spent talking to them and you were, you know, laughing about something, and sometimes it has to be have nothing to do with the thing that's bringing. Like you could talk to say Mark Hamill and start talking football or talking musicals or talking whatever, but it's an opportunity to have that interaction. And that yes, there's a memory that an object that goes with that memory now, and that's that autographed piece of memorabilia, but it's got less to do with that. It's more with that interaction. That's really what
Well,
the
no,
cost is for because it's unique, and that's what makes it so special because it's not an everyday thing. It's not even like, oh, you went on a website and bid on something and you bought it and okay, you got it hanging on your shelf or on your wall. Yeah, that's nice, but and I'm not bad mouthing anybody who does that. By all means, spend your money the way you want to spend your money, but it's more along that opportunity that you get to share a moment, an experience with somebody else who, like Mark Hamill. I mean, I always think back to you ever seen the video of when Mark Hamill dropped in on late night and it was Adam Scott,
yes,
the
yeah,
guest,
yeah,
and you see the way that it just hits Adam Scott.
yeah.
Like he is literally shaking because that's not Mark Hamill coming through the doors. That's
Luke
Luke McClunky
Skywalker. Yeah.
Skywalker coming through the doors. And you could tell that at that moment he wasn't, comedian, actor, famous Hollywood person. He was the same 10-year-old kid that watched Star Wars and loved it from the moment he watched it. So
Well,
there's that moment for that connection that's unique.
the one that if you were to ask me probably in about a month or two, because I don't think it has sunk in yet.
Mhm.
That I just am thinking about now. It's the Ludwig Göransson autograph that I have because he purposefully came to my gig. Even as I
You don't
say
miss no
that,
gigs?
even as I say that out loud, it's like that's not real. That's not, but that is the absolute truth.
Mhm.
He came to see me play music, and and yeah, no, man. So like I said, I knew that there. I mean, the person who told me he was coming was, his wife. There's a whole story to this, but anyway, I'll tell you at a later time. Um, but so I was like, oh, okay, maybe will, maybe won't. But I had my Mandalorian poster packed with me that night just in case. And then we walked in. I was like, holy crap, this, Ludwig Göransson came to my gig, and like I said, it still hasn't sunk in yet. And I had the McClunkies to ask him, hey, would you mind signing something? He's like, yeah, I'll sign anything. He's like, oh, thank God. So anyway, I still want,
Yeah.
yeah. However, what will trump everything is if I can ever get Samuel L. Jackson to sign my Mace Windu figure and have him sign it bad MFer. Because I will ask him to sign it that way. So,
It's look, it's mandatory. It's mandatory. And the good thing is you can tell from his interviews and whatever that he kind of acknowledges and recognizes that's the cultural impact that movie and those lines connected with him. Because he even said, I believe he was doing saw a clip of him recently on the Howard Stern show, and he said that they were talking about the impact that say Quentin Tarantino had with him and Spike Lee, and he even said George Lucas was such a big impact on my career because just taking, it took me to another level where I could be in big blockbuster fare. I wasn't just, hey, you're this serious actor who appears in, auteur cinema. I mean, making me Mace Window gave me the intro to get to Marvel. So
you know,
he's very cognizant of the impact in Star Wars and of close that Pat M effort lines.
the last thing I'll say is,
Mm-hmm.
if people are thinking like, what should I collect or should I collect or blah blah blah. First of all, whatever, if you think it's cool, that's fine. But I guess my suggestion is to, it's kind of like, Brittany and I many years ago stopped buying each other presents for Christmas, anniversary, birthdays, all this stuff, and we decided we spend that money on experiences, whether it's a concert or football games or you know and that's what I'm getting to is that, speaking as somebody who collected all the toys and they're back here and they're cool, but they don't have as much meaning to me as, like I said, those moments that I've, had somebody sign something, or the moment that I got to build, a lightsaber. So that's my suggestion. And they'll take up far less space in your house. So anyway, all that being said, I still want a full size R2D2. But anyway,
Yeah,
I'm
I
down.
haven't seen it. Yeah, haven't seen it at that Galaxy Edge. You go like again. There's that moment I just saw R2 and I had to go up to it because I'm like, it's R2, and you get back. There are those moments in life where you just go back to being a little kid, and in a
I will
good
tell
way.
you, if you buy it from
And that's one of
Galaxy's
them.
Edge, you're getting ripped off. There's plenty of places you can. Yeah. Anyway, um, so actually, it's kind of funny because I have a kegerator, and
Mhm.
it's actually, we haven't been using it because never have a keg of beer in your house. When it's like having a candy machine that requires no money, type of a deal. It's just don't it unless you're gonna have a lot of friends come over and help you get rid of that keg. Don't have a keg of beer. So anyway, I'm talking about getting rid of this kegerator, and then I'm like saying to Britt, I was like, so what if I replace the kegerator with an R2D2 with the drink tray, and we can put our bottles of whiskey and vodka and everything on the. That's not flying over well. So um, there's been a red line drawn apparently. So
You got to figure out a way to make the R2 run errands for her, specific to her, and that's how you sell it, I think.
so anyway, well, cool. Well, you can let us know what your favorite Star Wars memorabilia is. Anything that spoke to you as a kid or an adult. Um, so, uh, yeah, hit us up on. Are we still calling it Twitter? I am because
I
Yeah,
still call it Twitter.
I'm refusing to believe in anything Elon Musk. But
But
anyway,
yeah,
um,
by the way, we're talking about getting off of there, in a general sense. We haven't done it. I think everybody's talking
same.
about getting off of there. if anybody's out there and they're like, hey, go on this social app instead, hit us up, let us know where you at, where you want us to be. But seriously though, also on this, just let us know. We want to know, like, what's your favorite collectible or
Alternative. Yeah.
memorabilia
Yeah.
or toy or whatever.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fredo, you had one more thing?
Nah, I was just gonna say I've been test driving both Blue Sky and Threads as alternative to Twitter. Uh, Threads so far seem to be like a gigantic dating site, which is kind of funny to me. And then Blue Sky seems to be more like Twitter, but there's literally 10 people there. So yeah, we will have to workshop that out to see where we're gonna end up if we decide that the crazy man from down under, well, no, actually not down under, South Africa, decides that he's gonna finally nuke uh, the site that we all kind of like at long last.
Well, with that, everybody light your Saints candles. Yeah, and then buy more Saints candles and light those because I think we got rough waters ahead. Um, but hey, we'll always say who dat.
Who that?
Who dat?
Everybody have a great week.
McConkey.